errands. And I wanted to talk this morning, I got my devotional book back. I wanted to talk this morning very quickly about yesterday's devotional. I was driving all day, so I wasn't able really to make a post. But yesterday's devotional was about Jonah chapter 1. And we know the story of Jonah is God told Jonah to go to Nineveh, and he didn't want to go. And so he went the other way. And so that's really the scriptures. They have two scriptures that they picked out. It's Jonah 1 and Jonah 2. And it says, "Now the Lord provided a huge fish to swallow Jonah, and Jonah was in the belly of the fish for 3 days and 3 nights." That's in chapter 1, verse 17. And then Jonah chapter 2, 1 and 2 says, "From inside the fish, Jonah prayed to the Lord his God, and he said, 'In my distress I called to the Lord, and he answered me. From deep in the realm of the dead I called for help, and you listened to my cry.'" And so what I thought about is kind of a little strange, it's a little bit off from where the devotional went. But what I wanted to really bring out is I was thinking about Jonah and why he didn't want to go to Nineveh. And, in the day and age that we live in, we hear so much about prejudice and racism and just a general dislike of certain ethnic groups. And so I was thinking about, really, that's what Jonah was dealing with, is he didn't want these people to repent. He didn't want them to come into a saving relationship with Jesus. Jesus at the time, it wasn't Jesus, but with God himself. And so he had this prejudice, but for me, which is worse than prejudice, which is extremely bad, and racism is extremely bad, but I guess that's the end of it, but is that he didn't care whether these people went to hell or not. And so that was my take. I was thinking about Jonah himself and his lack of concern for the souls of the people of Nineveh. And we know that God got his attention. And that another point I wanted to bring out is that God saw him. Our devotional this morning talked about God saw him where he was, even when he ran from him and when he was in the belly of the whale. First of all, God created the whale, or we say it's a whale because it's the biggest fish we know. The biggest fish at the time, or a big fish at the time, swallowed Jonah. So there's so many different things, aspects of that story that we can think of, that God made a way, even when Jonah was in disobedience. And how many times I'm so thankful for the mercy of God that I haven't been exactly completely lined up, but God still made a way for me. And second of all, God's concern for the unsaved. And that's what really struck me the most in this story is how much are we like Jonah? We may not be running to another city, but really, how often do we go about our day and not have care for those that are just like the people of Nineveh who need to hear the message of the gospel? So that was what was running around in my thoughts today. What are your takes on the first and second chapter of Jonah? And do you think about how much, in comparison, yourself, in reality myself, do I disregard those around me just like Jonah did?